Morning. Today we're going to be doing the presidential election debate between Terrence, Burnell, and Hailey Heassler. My name is Sergio Montañez Orozco.
And my name is Emery Diaz, and we are tonight's moderators.
I'm Hailey Heassler,
I'm Terrence Burnell.
and we're your sixth period presidential candidates.
Given the worries of rise of mental disturbances within the younger generation of Americans over at least the last decade, what would you do now to improve the mental health of our
So, for healthcare, I do plan to expand Medicare and Medicaid, and Medicare is one of the biggest mental health helpers. They fund a lot of mental health programs, so I think I would expand it so more teenagers can get help. And I think I would also implement more help in the school systems because we do have counselors, but they're not really people you go to when you need help with your mental health. So I think I would implement more programs in schools that would help, like elementary school through high school, with their mental health, like therapists rather than counselors. So they're actually certified to help with mental health.
Alrighty, so I agree quite a lot with what Hailey just said. I think as far as costs go, um, healthcare system they spend about $4.9 trillion a year, and which brings that 17.6% accounting for GDP per capita. So I think if we lower that by about 50%, like the country's attempting to do now, then it would make it cheaper for many people to seek healthcare benefits through mental or physical. And I think schooling, the education system could use classes like that as well, just like she said, implementing that into the education, just like we have a sexual education, we could have mental education taught by, I like that poster, and we could have that taught by psychiatrists and psychologists, therapists that are actually licensed, like she said, through the healthcare system. So I think that would be very beneficial to our generation. About 30 seconds. You want to give up your time? Oh, yeah.
Haley, you have 30 seconds to respond.
So I believe that your policy was universal healthcare. Is that correct?
Universal healthcare.
Yes.
No, we were talking about the United States of America.
Well, I'm just asking you.
Oh,
Was your one of your policies universal healthcare?
no.
So
Oh, no, my bad.
yeah, that was it. Well, no, I mean, so you weren't planning. What was your stance on healthcare for
My
your?
stance on healthcare, as I just said, was healthcare prices should be plummeted by about 50% per capita. We actually spend about in 2023 we spent 4.9 trillion on the healthcare system, which actually statistically stands for numbers. It's 14,570 per person house income for 2023, which is also 70.6%.
So you're not putting as much funding in, or you're adding more?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Wait. All right. Yeah. In response to that, no, we're not. I would be making healthcare, attempting to make it cheaper, making the prices less for the citizens of America. So.
But
That'd be the goal.
how?
How? Oh. Wait, is that how it like works? Like if the time cuts off, we just drop it. Oh, the mic. I keep forgetting.
We're going to move on to the second question. And for candidate, as president, what will you do to increase mental health treatment within the community for vets and their families and caregivers?
So as I said before, Medicare is one of the biggest mental health funders. So again, I would expand that to help out vets as well as their families, and they would also not be paying as much just because vets do tend to live in lower income areas. So that's what Medicare helps. It helps people in lower income areas, um, communities of color, as well as rural areas. So all of that would help a vet with their mental health, as well as gun control. I think there should be some sort of mental evaluation before giving a gun. Letting someone have a gun.
You have 20 seconds if you want to give
Oh, okay, no, I'm still talking. Sorry. So with that, vets they are at risk for suicide. They are one of the most suicidal like populations. So having that safeguard in place would help lower the rates of suicide in vets.
You have 1 minute, 3 seconds to answer the question.
Alrighty, thank you. Could you? Alrighty. So, once again, I really agree with what Haley just said. I think the healthcare system is very expensive, and we can make that cheaper for vets and more. I guess make it more outgoing, so it's more knowledgeable that we have those opportunities for the vets to receive. My father's in the military. All my grandparents are in the military, so PTSD is very, very, I would say, present in vets when they go to war, when they're in certain crises that things go on with. So, yeah, I would say if we have education on that, and for gun, as far as gun control goes, I think that a gun does not discriminate. A gun is not the reason that someone is dead. The person behind the gun is the reason that someone's dead. So I think we have mental evaluations, and as the class gets higher for certain classes of weaponry, then the tests and the standards to own those weapons should get higher as those classes go. So I think we should stricten our gun laws actually, because some people don't need guns, some people do need guns. So I think as long as we have the right people owning guns, then we'll be fine.
You have 15 seconds left.
Okay, Haley, you have 30 seconds to either close your statement or respond.
I would like to close my statement by saying that I too come from a long line of veterans, as well as my brother who is active duty right now in Somalia. So go military. But yeah, I'm all for increasing funding for the like mental health in the military. I think there should be more maybe incentives to get vets to go because again they are an older population, so they do feel more ashamed getting help with their mental health. But I think I would add some more incentives to get vets to go get help.
Terrence, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I'll close by. I would say that mm, veterans are very should be very cherished in our community. They do a lot for us, and so the more we can help them mentally, physically, just as well as physical impairments. As everything goes, vets should be treated as they do for us. They do a lot for us, so we should do a lot for them as much as we can.
Now we're gonna move on to the next section, gun control.
Haley Heassler, as president, how would you ensure that Americans keep the right to bear arms under the Second Amendment while also ensuring that gun violence drops?
So, as I said before, everybody has a right to a weapon, well, a right to carry, obviously, but I would stricten the rules on what kind of weapons they are allowed to carry because some of them are a little unnecessary. Like, nobody needs a military style weapon, especially if they are just a regular citizen. So, I would stricten that, like, just for safety, as well as, again, as I said before, the mental evaluations, just to ensure that they aren't putting themselves or others at risk with the purchase of a gun. And that I think that's it for me.
You have 40 seconds if you want to give up your time.
Yeah.
And they take Terrence, we're gonna have 1 minute, 30 seconds to answer.
Alrighty. No, I got it. So for gun control, we just sort of assessed that a little bit with the last question. I would say, yeah, like I said before, a gun does not discriminate. Discriminate. I apologize. And it's the person behind the gun. And I think that obviously the Second Amendment is true. Everyone has the right to bear arms. However, rights are provoked and suspended through mental evaluation. Just as you crash, you don't drive with your license, then your license is revoked. So just as, for example, we have school shootings, that person should not be able to own a gun. There should be mental evaluation. There should be things that precede the actions that are taken by those certain people. So the tests mentally, physically, the class of weaponry, those should all be evaluated before a person owns a gun. That's just someone shouldn't walk into Walmart with a license and be able to buy any gun. They should be evaluated. There should be certain standards to own those weapons so we can have a safer community.
You have 30 seconds if you want to give up.
You have 30 seconds to close or respond.
So, yeah, as I said before, I would maybe put more strict regulations on the more military style weapons as well as the mental evaluations, just to keep kids, adults, vets safe from others as well as themselves. And yeah, that's it for me.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, yeah, I think I stated what I said earlier pretty well. I think that people commit heinous acts, weapons don't commit heinous acts. So the more regulations and stipulations we have to own guns, the less heinous acts will be committed.
So the next question. That's where you're gonna have 1 minute 3 seconds to answer. With the unfortunate rise of gun violence in institutions such as public schools, what would your plan to be to combat gun violence within schools?
So in schools, I think a lot of the time it's one of the students of the schools that commits the a school shooting. So I would again implement more therapy in schools, as well as rather than alternative like which punishes the students for misdeeds or something, I would rather them go to like a more rehabilitational kind of correct, not a correctional facility, like a more rehab type of thing to teach them teach them in more positive ways rather than just punishing and then them like doing the act over and over. So, and I think also there should be more security at schools. Like, I don't know, maybe no duffel bags or in schools. Yeah, I would just implement more security around schools and inside of schools. And then that's
That's time. Now, Katie, Burnell, you're gonna have 1 minute 3 seconds to answer. Do you want me to repeat it?
No, sir. Alrighty. Well, I think that once again, as I've stated twice, guns do not discriminate. People discriminate. So I think that in the school system with the Department of Education, we can implement just as we have sexual education, mental education, physical education. We need mental education. The mind is the most powerful thing you have in your body, and we need to take care of that more than we need to take care of anything else. So if we have classes that teach us all these things, but yet we don't know how to control our own minds, then what we're learning doesn't matter more than that. So I think if we implement mental care into our daily lives, then our mental care will be taken care of daily. So I think when we have outlets that are not proper for our students, then those students don't have outlets. So if we provide outlets and we provide care for the people that need it, then everything will be okay. Not everything won't be okay, but there's a process to making everything okay, and that's something that's worth taking. So that's a road, and if we implement mental health care into schools and make it less expensive for the public, then more people will be able to afford it and have it.
You have 15 seconds left. Katie, what you're saying? Now we're gonna move on to the reportables.
Okay. So you have 30 seconds to respond.
so obviously kid like the new generation starts with the children, what we teach them, and then they carry that on into the future for their generation. So obviously we should implement more things than future generations had, or sorry, older generations had access to. So yeah, I think the implementation of mental health outlets would be extremely beneficial for our youth today as well as in the future.
You have 30 seconds to respond.
Alrighty. As I said before, mental health care is something that is, I would say, scarce in our nation, and that is one of the most important things to our nation. So it cannot be scarce. We need to provide the correct mental care so we can have the right mindsets walking around in our people.
We're gonna be moving on to border security.
Okay. Terrence, as president, how will you engage Mexico and other countries to reform, create, and implement cooperative immigration policies?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
As president, how will you engage with Mexico and other countries to reform,
Alrighty. Well, I think that America's a melting pot. Is the glory land. So I don't believe in the, the statement that we should not allow people into our country. That's not what the country stands for. I believe that we have a border, and the border should be used, and it should be used properly. There are legal ways to come into the country, but I think that those ways to come into the country should be expanded upon. I think that the people that want to come into the country should be able to come into the country at little to no cost. There's fees that are about $700 to um, get your license to come into the country, and I don't think you should pay $700 to be an American citizen. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that the people that are seeking uh, access to America have $700. So I think that government aid into other than going into other things that are possibly less important could go into uh, creating ways for less fortunate people to be more fortunate and come into our country.
Second step, and Heassler to help 1,360,000.
So, as opposed to a melting pot, I see America as a mixing pot. We should all be able to express ourselves, like our ethnicities, our everything about us, rather than melting it all into one. I think we should all be able to be ourselves. And as for the border, I think reducing the time for US citizenship applications would help a lot. And we can reduce unauthorized border crossings by reducing the time it takes to get a US citizenship. And I think that would eliminate the inhumane detention facilities and camps that don't really treat immigrants very well. And instead, we could replace them with community-based supervision programs, which would ensure legal counsel, medical care, and safe shelter for all immigrants entering the country illegally. They still are humans and deserve to be treated humanely. And we should prioritize a consistent effort to assess those who pose a threat to public safety and will ensure the lawful removal of those who pose a threat to public safety. And
25 seconds. You go.
With my 30 seconds, could I like ask a question and then she responds to that question, or is that not allowed? Good. Alrighty. Can you elaborate on you said community supervision? What would that entail?
well, it would be like a facility, right? But they would have more people watching than all of these people cramped into a small place with not a lot of like supervision because things happen with no supervision, like fires, and they're locked in there. They can't really get out, and because nobody really, I think people don't really value their lives because they're immigrants, they're not from here, but they are still humans and they deserve. That's about it for me.